What's up, fam? Hey, this is a different type of video. It's a different type of vibe. Same energy, same guy. But we doing something today. We reprogramming me as a teacher, me as a leader. I'm reprogramming myself today, and I'm doing it publicly in front of you. And I think that it can have a lot of benefit for you as I see something true about myself. When you're open and you're not suspicious, and you're not worried, you're not caught up in the cares of this world, you're free to learn from everywhere, everything, and everyone. You're not constantly going around judging people and things, telling yourself what things are. You can observe things, analyze things, and see it for the facts instead of seeing it for the way you perceive it, which is all based on your experience, interpretation, and inner core beliefs. So I'll tell you real quick how I learned my lesson, then I tell you what my lesson was, and then I tell you how I began to apply the information that was revealed to me from the inside out. I love Smoothie King. I rock with Smoothie King. Big up the Smoothie King. 20 ounce, 32 ounce, lemon twist strawberry. Be a blessing as you feel. But look, I go to Smoothie King all the time. So the other day I went to Smoothie King, got a whole smoothie, about $7.48 to be exact. And I'm riding down the road, I set it between my legs, and I was so caught up in my thoughts that I made a turn and fell out of my lock, hit the floor of the car, spilled all over the mat. So I took it as what I felt like was well. I talked a little trash to myself. I made mention of it to a couple of people and told them about my blunder, told them about my mishap, and I was so open and honest about my mistake. The next day, I griped a little bit, I complained a little bit, but when I passed Smoothie King, I had to run it back. I did. I didn't want to, because I didn't want to spend another $7.48, because yesterday I felt like I had already did that and I didn't get to enjoy it. So I started being real human about it. I started not wanting to pay another $7.48 for another smoothie, even though I wanted another smoothie. And that's crazy. But that's a whole other topic. So I end up going to Smoothie King. I get my second smoothie of the week. I do another very human thing. I take a sip of it. I'm caught up in my thoughts still, very unaware, very unconscious, very unintentional in the way I'm moving. I stick it in between my legs and I drive down the road. And I forget that it's in between my leg and I make another turn and I drop another smoothie. And this time there's not a car mat down there because that happened yesterday. So I boom, drop it on the car floor. It spilled, cup bust, because Smoothie King didn't even do something about them cheap cups. But that's another topic as well. So I spilled my second smoothie, and I'm having my reaction, talking trash to myself again. And I just slide over to the car wash where my partner work at. And I use him. I steal a little virtue from him. I see him. I tell him about my mistake. I'm open and I'm honest about my mishap. I tell another person about my blunder. I clean up the car. I take accountability. Get that up. I don't want that to stain. I don't want to leave it there for nobody else or nothing like that. It's just a smoothie left unclean. I mean, it's gonna start to stink. So, I'm doing all of the big boy motions, but mentally I'm being real childish about everything because the next day I got another smoothie, but I didn't spill it and I didn't say a word, not to myself, not to nobody else. The day after that I got another smoothie. I got reward points too, y'all. So like, I won't be paying $7.48 every time. 'Cause that's like $21 a smoothies right there. $28. But anyway, that's another topic. So I get my fourth smoothie, I drink it, I finish it, I don't spill it. I don't say nothing to myself. I don't say nothing to nobody. It took somebody outside of me who had heard about me spilling the first two smoothies and had knowledge of me not spilling the next two smoothies. It took them to say, hey, you spilled two smoothies, you drunk two smoothies. And that simple statement that used to would have irritated me. I can come up with all of these reasons why it used to would have irritated me, but the truth of the matter is, the genuine reason that it would have irritated me is because somebody is choosing to celebrate me for something that I don't see as a reason to celebrate myself over, because it is so simple that not only should I have done it correctly, everybody should have did it correctly. And that is a very, very harsh way to deal with the world, yourself, and celebrations. Understand we come from a world that's full of insecure people. We come from a world full of people who are constantly thinking about themselves, but not in such a way where they're appreciating who they are. They're constantly thinking about the work that has to be done to be who they think they should be. So typically when these type of people are met with the presentation of someone who is confident, sure of themselves, bold, free of the illusion of lack, separation, obligation, restriction, lacking the extreme tension that the average human carries in the human body because of being locked inside of overthinking and vain imaginations. Typically, when people are met with such a presentation, they reject it because it's a conviction to them of everything that's available to them that they've rejected. But it sends them into a conflicted state because they're watching someone who they think they're better than operate from a state that they have not been able to obtain. So they are met with a inner conversation that is a crossroad, and oftentimes not they, we turn the wrong way. When we get to the crossroad where someone who we think we're better than is operating at a higher rate than us inside of something that we are attempting to do, oftentimes we do not reassess whether that person is more suitable or more capable in that field or in that lane of operation. Oftentimes what we do is we make excuses for ourselves. We talk about how much harder it is for us to do what they're doing because of previous circumstances, present oppositions, future possibilities. We reach deep inside of the ego and deep inside of our box of illusions, and we provide ourselves with what we need to be comfortable once again inside of something very, very discomfortable. And I couldn't help but see inside of all of that that I am so like most of the people that I know around me. I'm more anxious to criticize myself. I'm more anxious to publicly condemn myself even than I am to celebrate myself, not only publicly, but even privately. We don't have a very, very good relationship with celebrations. And that's why, that's why we oftentimes don't have the value of what a celebration is. See, it's from one celebration to another is how I create the path of joy. That's tough. From one celebration to another is how I create the path of joy. Just like from one judgment to another is how I created my hell. That's tough. That's tough. I'm glad we recorded because I need to remember that. Because everything I say is not to teach y'all, it's to teach us. I don't sit down and come up with lesson plans and things like that. But one of the things moving forward that I am going to do is move our audio messages, our audio talks into visual presentations. So that's going to require me doing a little planning. But I'm not going to get to such a point that I'm sitting down throughout the week trying to find the right words to teach you something, because that's crazy. That's not even what a teacher is. Everybody is a teacher. At all times, all of us are teaching. We're teaching what to do, what not to do, how to move, how not to move, the benefit and value in everything that it is that we participate in that people are watching us navigate through. You know, a teacher is a student in the front of the class. You know, like, period. Like I'm a student that is offered the opportunity to speak freely in the classroom while others ask for that permission to do the same. That's the only difference. I'm learning daily. If I stop learning, I shouldn't be teaching. Or I'm teaching you that if someone that you listen to and give influence in your life stops depositing truth inside of them and stops living inside of the factual realm of reality, then you should disconnect your ear and influence from that person's message. That's what I would be teaching if I got to a point where I felt like I didn't need to learn. So anyway, back to the celebrations. We don't have a good relationship with celebrations. Think about it. You could see somebody crying in a corner. Think about it. Think about it for real, man. You see somebody crying in the corner. You don't even know this person. You don't know why they're crying. But you almost feel compelled. Some people, a lot of people, almost feel compelled to say something, do something, try to figure out, try to help. What's the issue? Even if I don't want to ask what's the issue because I was taught that's inappropriate, let me reaffirm to this person that everything's gonna be all right. We will go uninvited to the darkest times of people's lives because we feel like it's the right thing to do, or it's the godly thing to do, or it's the good thing to do, or it's the nice thing to do. But all of these are just definitions within ourselves that are subjectable to our experience and what it is that we perceive those actions to be. But if I told your friend that I was having a party at 6 o'clock on Friday and I wanted them to come, and I did not tell you that as you stood 5, 10 feet away from us, would you show up, or would you feel comfortable showing up unannounced, uninvited to my celebration? We only go to celebrations when we're invited. But for some reason, because we can relate so deeply, I imagine, we don't need an invitation to go into these dark holes with the people that we say we care about. If I care about a person that I continue to watch go inside of a dark hole of illusion where they're lying to themselves and lying about the world and about themselves, the last thing I should be doing out of care for that person is diving into that hole, making that hole of illusions more real to them. Hey, listen, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to walk with you. But I'm going to tell you until you get away from me, or you get away from this idea that that hole that you're entertaining is nothing but an illusion that you created for yourself to keep yourself locked inside of a pattern of operation that you couldn't predict, because that's what keeps you from being afraid, and you're really running from fear every day. telling yourself you're doing what you want to do, or telling yourself you're doing what you have to do, or telling yourself you're doing the only thing you know to do. We don't have a good relationship with celebrations. We were taught this weird scale as children, what was to be celebrated and what was to be overlooked, and what victories were worth announcing and what victories were so small that you would be insulted for going and making a big deal out of it. And it's crazy. It's crazy to think that the people around you, unless they operate from a really, really wise and experienced state of genuine, unconditional love, the people around you very rarely give you the opportunity to make a mistake without it being announced, even if it's only to you. But then something as simple as making a good cup of water. I mean, the ice to water ratio in the cup is perfect. The temperature of the water was perfect. There was no debris on the cup. There was no smudges on the glass. No foreign fecal matter in the cup. You don't get a celebration for this from your parents. You might not get a thank you because you owe me. So like we unconsciously teach and consciously teach our children that some things are worth celebrating and some things you're supposed to do. So don't even mention it. Don't expect for me to give you something good for getting good grades in school because that's what I told you to do. But if you get bad grades, I'm gonna beat you behind. So often we met consequences in places that if we had succeeded, there would have been no celebration. And we found that out by experience because as we failed and we were punished, we grew into performers who had a deep desire to get it right, to be approved of by the people who were judging and critiquing us. And oftentimes when we got it right, there was nothing said. But when we got it wrong, there was hell to pay. And that method of operating in the physical has extended into the undisciplined way that we operate in the spirit realm. We are very slow to acknowledge the victories, big or small. We are very uncomfortable for the most part being celebrated and applauded, even though it's one of the things that we desire most. And that just speaks to the inner confusion that we live with, which is why our lives are so chaotic and up and down in the manifestation, because we're double-minded, which makes us unstable in all of our ways. As soon as we ask for something, we ask for something that contradicts what we asked for, and we're left up to the autopilot navigating of our core beliefs and the unconscious thoughts that we have and entertain and don't even know as to what it is that we will actually experience. But again, this is a celebration video. We have reached 50 videos on the channel, and we did that in about 60 days. So in my celebration, hold on, boy, you did, God, you, you did that. You said you was gonna do something, and you did it because that's who you are, and you have to acknowledge the truth about yourself as you see it in yourself, because when people see you, they're going to see only what they perceive. and they can only see what they know, and what they know is themselves. So sometimes you're going to be in front of somebody who paints a terrible picture of you, but you have to understand that the picture that they painted, they may think that it's a portrait of you, but it's actually a self-portrait, and they can't see it. And that right there should help you deal with those people with grace, because you should remember what it was like when you were making a fool of yourself, but were fully convinced that you were justified and right in the way that you were going about things and the way that you were thinking. So we celebrating 50. We up 50. We up a 50 ball. But check this out. In the celebration comes a challenge, because that's who warriors are. That's who true students are. That's who true leaders are. True pioneers. It's tough being out front, and by that I don't mean out front as in importance, because to be honest, those out front are left subjectable to the most hazardous circumstances, as there is no intel in the physical of what's to come, which makes it real cool that we were taught by birth from our original home not to lean to human understanding, because the answers can't be found there oftentimes, or can be found there oftentimes too late to do anything about it, because by the time it's in the physical, it's been activated by the spiritual and mental world that you carry on the inside in a way that's irreversible. So here we go, man. Next chapter of our growth together, our journey together. I want that 100 milestone video to come in the next 30 days. And I want us to have transitioned into a more visual presentation with our talks and our gatherings here. So I'm going to get to working on that. Y'all continue to work on your relationship with celebrating yourself. Celebrate every small thing that you do well. I mean, if you cut your toenails and you cut your fingernails and they even and they nice, I'm gonna need for you to stop, take a moment, and spend some time talking to yourself. You talk to yourself all day, every day anyway. It's just the things that you've been saying to yourself have been very unhealthy. So since you're not gonna stop talking to yourself, you might as well say things that benefit. You might as well, instead of criticizing and critiquing yourself all the time, you might as well celebrate yourself and create the habit of celebrating yourself, so that when you leave your house, you are slow to criticize and critique other people and quick to celebrate them. What you do to yourself will leak out and become what you do to other people. Treat yourself better. You'll treat your kids better. Your relatives better. Strangers, friends, associates, and all those around you better. The world is better when you know who you are, you operate as such. Lock it in, fam.